Welcome back to Doing Bart Things. This is Bart, and today I've got a short video discussing the RTX 4070 again. It's back in the news. So as suspected, way faster than I even anticipated, due to the rocky launch of the RTX 4070, they are already going to cut prices. I think they're going to try to do this in a back channel kind of way. They're going to offer rebates, which we'll see from Nvidia as the AIB partners getting these rebates, and then they will probably end up as sales and coupon codes to offer the GPUs at a cheaper price. Not shocked. Honestly, the shocking thing to me is how fast it happened. I mean, these things, they sat on shelves. They did not sell at all in order to get to this point. That's really telling. Something else is telling. I think everybody should take a step back and honestly be pretty pissed off by this. They are overcharging for all their GPUs. We are not getting the benefit of any process node improvements, of any developments to save costs on Nvidia's end. They are just straight up charging as much as they think they can. This is a result of lack of competition, of perceived market domination by Nvidia, and I do think they kind of overstepped. I think this is going to stick in everybody's craw a little bit. Hopefully people remember this, just along with the RTX 4080 12 gig, RTX 4070 Ti model that was going to get launched as a 4080 for $900, that they reduced the price by $100 and then called it the 4070 Ti, and it's still overpriced. So they basically, I think, will end up going to $549. So they'll drop the price on this maybe $50. That's more competitive. I still think that's a little too high. So recently, or actually just, let's say it was yesterday, I did a quick video about the RTX 4060 and how that was going to be a complete flop, and I still believe that the case, unless they really get competitive on price with that. Then it will be, nobody's going to buy that. At least I hope not. I think people are going to get, there's a lot of things going on with video games and whatnot right now, between ray tracing, between just game developers trying to up the quality and visual experience of their games, period, and the complexity. We are seeing a huge need for, or I say huge, we're seeing just a time over time increased need for video RAM. And 8 gigs is basically going to be almost not enough very shortly. It's practically not enough for games like Hogwarts Legacy. And when I say not enough, I don't mean to run it. I mean to actually have all of the fidelity turned on, which a lot of people like to do. That makes it, visually nice. I know that they're going to come out with Hogwarts Legacy on consoles and stuff. Some of the consoles, honestly, just due to the limitations of what Nvidia is putting in the video cards, if you have like a 6 gigabyte VRAM lower end card, and you go to play Hogwarts Legacy, you're probably going to have to turn down, honestly, more settings than someone who's on like the PS5, for sure. You may have a faster GPU, but the console actually has more VRAM and thus can render more at once, and thus the settings can be higher, and it will actually be prettier to look at because you can render all that. It's a really bizarre time that we live in, and a lot of it has to do with Nvidia just being very stingy with VRAM. AMD has not been as stingy. And I think we're quickly getting to a point where 8 gigabytes of VRAM, and this is according to game developers, this is not me. Like, I've seen a couple of interviews now where even game developers, the one that comes to mind is if you go to Moore's Law is Dead, he has some game developers on, and they're talking about VRAM just like, yeah, it's not, it's very quickly turning into a problem. I think not too long from now, 12 gigs could even be a problem. I think we got a while to go before like 16 gigs is any kind of issue. But Nvidia, AMD, all the video card manufacturers are going to have to start getting more density of VRAM onto the card, onto their cards. And I think a lot of these low-end cards are going to be obsolete very quickly, or basically people are going to start having a very impacted visual fidelity kind of deal with their low-end cards. I think you got a ways to go on some esports games, but even like Fortnite, right? Fortnite's not exactly the most hard to render game, but they're starting to notice VRAM impacting even that game. So we're starting to get into some territory where 8 gigs is not going to work as well as it did before. And the funny part is, so this card, this 4070 has 12 gigs, so I think it's got a little bit of legs in that department. But the 4060 has 8 gigs and small bus. And honestly, the 4070, this card, it may be called a 4070, but it almost has specs like a 3060 card. And then the 4060 almost is like the 50 series. It's like even cut down more than that. It's really strange. Nvidia has moved up all the cards a tier, is what it looks like, and then some with your 4090, and the 4080 is just, again, ridiculous in its price. It caused AMD to really upprice the 7900 XTX and 7900 XT. 7900 XT has dropped a little bit since its launch, which it needed to. Nobody was finding that as a interesting buy at $900. They can be had now for roughly $780. So that was a needed drop in price. Yeah, but I think the lower end 40 series is just not good. It's woefully set up to compete with what I think AMD is going to be coming out with later, Intel, hopefully. But the problem with the Intel release, so Intel's got Battlemage, which is going to be their next GPU after Alchemist. And on paper, Battlemage looks actually pretty promising. It looks like it could get up into kind of that upper mid-range performance video card. The issue is it's not due to release until 2024. So we're going to go all year without that. And AMD and Intel aren't just, AMD and Nvidia are not just sitting around going to wait on it, especially I think Nvidia, which is my next point. So Jensen Wang is the CEO for Nvidia, and he is getting the keynote at is it Computex? I think. Let me see. Hold on. God, I can't remember what my. I was not prepared. GTC. Well, he's getting the keynote. So at upcoming. I think it's Computex, the end of May. Yeah. so it's Computex, and he will get the keynote. So what that means is, usually, the last few years, it's been Lisa Su from AMD who's gotten the keynote. So for Jensen to get the keynote, that means he's going to announce something relatively big to get that. And I think what we're going to get is either a 4090 Ti or a Titan card. Now, if Nvidia was smart, and this is just my opinion, if they were thinking outside the box, they would release this new top-end card, and to really shake things up, maybe to get some mind share back in the eyes of the consumers, they would shuffle the stack. So what they would do is basically announce this new top-end card at roughly the price, maybe a little bit more than the current 4090. So they'd say, yeah, MSRP is not $15.99, but it's like $16.99 or $17.50, right? They would say that because it's going to be the full meal deal die, right? So they could say it's a Titan if they wanted, whatever. And then what they would do is across the stack, they would say, okay, now due to this, our new flagship and our other cards production is up. They could make that up if whether or not that's the case or not. But their cards are sitting on the shelves, so supply is plenty. They could say, and across the board, we're going to drop the price on all our cards slightly to compensate for having this new flagship model. And they would drop the price on the 4090 a little bit, not much. They would drop the price on the 4080, hopefully a lot, like make it $999. They should make it less than that, but I'm just saying, in the current market conditions, it seems like people are willing to spend $1,000 for a 4080 7900 XTX card. So, if people are willing to buy it at that price, I think that that's probably the price that you would drop it to. They would drop the 4070 Ti by another $50. They would drop the 4070. Obviously, I've already dropped it by $50. They would probably keep that there for the time being, and then drop it again by another $50 to $499 by the end of the summer to get your back to school sales, because that's when all the kids are getting their video cards. The 4060 hasn't even launched yet, so I think when they launch that, they would launch it at like a more appropriate price. They need to launch that card at the same price as a 3060 series, period. I'm very concerned that the 4060 for them, if I was them, is not even going to be able to substantially beat the 3060 or 3060 Ti. So I would definitely match the price, because it's not going to be a huge upgrade over those cards. Same price, that card's a little bit of an upgrade. You're going to get people to buy that new card if they go to build a complete new system, say heading into the fall for back to school, right? Because back to school is a pretty big time. It's not as big as Christmas, but it's a pretty big time to sell PCs, and I think that would be a way to position yourself more appropriately. Now, here's what actually is going to happen. Since I'm not employed there at all, I have no affiliation with anybody. I'm just an old man ranting online is all I am. Here's what's going to actually happen. They're going to come out with a Titan card probably, and they're going to price that son of a gun at like $2,500, and nothing will change. That's what's actually going to happen. They're not going to slot that in, up at the top and have it make any sense at all. It's going to be another, all 15 people who can afford to buy it will say it's amazing, and then the rest of us are not going to get any price drops on anything unless we literally just not buy stuff like the 4070. That's what I think is actually going to happen. And it'll just be business as usual. So we'll stay tuned to see, but that's what I think is going to happen. One thing I am interested to know, though, will the will this new card, so it's going to be a big card, right, is my guess. I'm thinking either 490 Ti, maybe they bring the Super name back, but more than likely it'll be a Ti, or a Titan, an actual Titan card. And I'm very curious if, way back, one of my first videos, I was very interested and I talked about a specific strange cooler that looked like it actually cooled from the side. So it was a complete blow through design where the PCB of the board would have to be flat against the motherboard, and somehow there'd have to be like an L connector going into the PCIe slot, and then the PCB of the board was sideways to allow this cooler to hang off of the side of the PCB, almost like a CPU cooler being upright, and it would be complete flow through. I'm very interested to see if that's this card. That would be fascinating to me, because you could theoretically completely eliminate that hot zone that a video card makes, because it's basically a PCB that slots flat into the PCIe slot, and when fans are blowing up from the bottom of, say, a case into the top of the case, it's blocked. Like there's a physical barrier from that PCB that causes turbulence in the case. And if that was completely eliminated by flipping that card on the side, and not only would the card be flipped on its side, but the fans would be blowing straight up and down, so they blow from the bottom up, right? What would that be like? You know, would that, I mean, it would definitely improve flow through the case. I mean, air is a fluid, essentially, and the dynamics of that would be, I think, pretty interesting. Would it cause everything in the case to get cooler? Would it cause all the heat from this incredibly power-hungry GPU, which, I mean, the new 12-volt adapter does 600 watts. That's the limit. You know, could we be talking about a GPU that actually eats 550 to 600 watts of power? That's the thing I'm sort of curious about. Honestly, I don't think it'll be quite that aggressive. I don't think they need 600 watts to power one of these GPUs to get it to perform significantly faster than a 4090, because the 4090 is in the 450, I think some of them go up to 500 watt range. So I think a total board power of 550 watts might be enough. So I don't know if they're going to cap out that 600 watts. They might. Overclocked, I bet it does. I bet it does. And I will be really interested to see if they, how they do the power connectors, how all that would work if they go this more exotic style layout that allows the cooler to blow that way. I think that would actually make, at least, even if it's $3,000, at least that would be something new and interesting that we could take a look at, tear apart, maybe somebody could review, which I think would be pretty fascinating. But I think, like I said, this is going to be, they're going to announce a new Halo product, and I don't think it's going to be for the average guy, unfortunately. I think the thing, again, that they could do, which would make sense, is if they slotted this card in the top, but they didn't overprice it by $1,000. They said, well, no, this new Halo product is going to be about, $2,000 tops, right? So $1,999 maybe. And then they went down the stack and slightly reduced the price on all their other products to make them a little bit more appealing, especially in the 4080 range. Would need to see the biggest hit. And then from there, I think that would set them up a little bit nicer, a little bit more ready to compete with the AMD 7800 and 7700 GPUs, because AMD has a chance with those if the pricing stays as it is. Even with a discount now to the 4070, to really hone in and take some market share. So if Nvidia wanted to be aggressive, they need to hopefully realize that they've already captured the early adopter tax, and that from now on, with this series of cards, they're going to need to figure out a way to make things more price competitive. So, that's the hope. I doubt it. Like, I think they're gonna release a Halo card and charge over $2,000, way north of that. I think it'll be 2,500, maybe 3,000, is my guess. And at that price, just whatever. Like I said, all 15 people that buy it will be really impressed by what it has to offer. So, it's just a technical exercise at that point, and not a realistic product that normal human beings will buy that make a normal salary, especially in this economy. So, guys, that's all I got for you. I just wanted to do a quick video on that. So, in summary, be interested to see what old Jensen here has to say at Computex as the keynote speaker. I think it's going to be a new top-end card, it looks like. And the 4070 is already getting a price cut after being on the market for a week. That should almost be illegal. But anyway, all right, guys, listen, thank you for listening. Please have a great day. Like and subscribe if you feel the need to. I'll be coming with more videos, hopefully soon, that have a decidedly less low-rent production. But we'll see. I have a lot going on, so we'll see how things shake out. I really appreciate it. Again, thank you, guys.